Carmina Barnett, and I'm going to be serving as your host for Church Netiquette 101. Pause. Let's go ahead and get this out of the way. You want to know what netiquette means, right? I got you. That's your internet etiquette. How is your ministry represented online? Got it? We are super excited today to bring you some amazing information to help you get to your next level. That's what this is all about. There's an amazing team who has put together some amazing ideas and tips and things that you can implement. First, we've got Faye Hill. She is a certified trainer and has traveled extensively around the world implementing strategy to help increase servitude and just grow and strengthen ministries. We've got Calvin Hill, who is an audio and video specialist. He makes sure you sound good and that you look good. And then we've got Pastor Cornelius Clark, who is a church consultant. He loves God, he loves his people, and he loves to see ministries grow. So we're about to get into it and give you all this amazing information that we cannot wait to share. Now we're going to start here. We're going to talk about Zoom. Yeah, how to make the best use of Zoom. Did you ever think we was going to be using Zoom like this? I did. I promise I did. Next, we're going to talk about how to structure your services during the pandemic, how to make sure you're engaging your members, and also how to make sure that the giving continues. We really want to make sure the saints are giving. They got to give. And we've got to talk about the audio and video piece. Yep, we are live streaming now, and we've got to make sure that we're doing it with the spirit of excellence. You can't just cut on the phone and go outside. You got to make sure it's right. So we're going to jump into it, and I'll be back here and there just kind of telling you about some more of the great items that are to come and how you can continue to connect with us so we can help you to continue to grow. Let's do it. Let's start it off. Faye Hill, let's talk about this Zoom thing, if you will.
I'm Faye Hill, the CEO and founder of Faye Hill & Associates and the Hill Agency International. Faye Hill & Associates is a church training company that does customer service, social media, graphic design, and virtual services, audio, visual, sound engineering. We train on all of those things. And the Hill Agency International is a speakers bureau. It's a bureau of very diverse speakers that can bring anything that you want on many, many different topics to your conferences, conventions, association meetings. Whatever it is that you have, we have speakers for. Why are we here today, and what is it we're trying to accomplish? We want to give you some information that will help you with your virtual online church services. It came out of nowhere. We were going to church, everything was normal, and the next thing you know, church was totally shut down, 100% to begin with. And we had to find ways to get the message to people. And most people did not know what to do. Actually, 46% of churches had never streamed live. Wow. What do? Do we bring people in to help us? How do we learn how to do this? Zoom was the very first platform that many people went to. Zoom today is still a platform that can be used for church services, but it's better used for your smaller meetings, your Sunday school, ministry meetings, maybe your children's ministry meetings. It's better for areas of where you want to break people out into rooms where there's interaction, where you have people discussing and talking to each other, not so much a pastor that's preaching to an audience or a congregation. Live streaming has gotten much better, and people are bringing the tools and equipment in that they need to stream on Facebook Live or YouTube. So I'm going to give you a few tips on Zoom and how to use that and maybe get better results with the Zoom as a platform for whatever you want to use it for. First of all, my suggestion on muting people is to do that in the settings immediately. When you come into your meeting, make sure everybody is muted. Why is that? Why do they have to be silent? If somebody sneezes, coughs, a child cries, the camera goes from the person presenting over to whoever it was that made the noise. That can be extremely disruptive in the middle of a meeting or somebody else talking, and we want to make sure that our meetings have a better quality, so mute the mics from the beginning. Let the admin control when somebody's unmuted. Don't let people unmute themselves. The next thing is your settings. Have you ever heard the term Zoom bombers? Those are hackers in the beginning that were actually just coming in your meetings. So Zoom put some things in place, some security settings where you can have to let people in. They can't just barge in and Zoom bomb your meeting. A couple of things you can do is in the participant management tab at the bottom, there's a key for locking. You can actually lock your meeting where nobody else can get in once the majority of your people are there. That might not be a great thing for all circumstances because once it's locked, nobody else can get in if you have somebody coming late or you're not sure if everybody's there. So that's one of the things you can use if you're sure everybody's in the meeting. You can go ahead and lock it, and that way you'll keep out any hackers. Another thing is passwords. We didn't have a password on our webinar because webinars don't allow participants to communicate anyway. But if it's just a regular Zoom meeting, set a password. Make sure that people have the meeting ID and the password, and you can send it out through text or email or on One Call Now. And that way, just the group of people that you want to have the information have it. It's not public. You can use webinars as well. That's another way that you can keep that meeting more controlled and with the people that are participating in the meeting. Another thing that you can do in your settings is you can allow people to not sharing their screen. If people come in unannounced or uninvited and they start sharing their screen, they can disrupt your whole meeting. So set that in the beginning, set that setting to where only the host can share their screen. That's another good thing. I wanted to talk about your appearance as well on camera. You need to have great lighting. If you have a good bright light behind your camera, your lighting is much better. But you can also set a setting in your video settings that it adjusts for low lights. In that same setting, you can do a touch-up. It's a check mark that you make, and it'll actually touch up your the look that you have on camera when you're in good lighting, so it looks great to the viewer, to whoever it is that's looking at you. Also, in appearance, you want to be careful what you have in your background. It can be very distracting. Whatever you have behind you, if it's not neat, not simple, it can distract people from watching you and listening to what you're saying. So make sure your background is adjusted to look well for your presentation. Another thing is where you sit in the screen needs to be in the top third. So your head needs to be in the top third of the screen, and that way it gives a better presentation look overall instead of being too low or too far back or too close. Make sure you sit back from the camera, not up on the camera where your face is in the camera and takes up the whole screen. Those are just a few things on the appearance that I think are good for you to remember so you have a good professional look. And that's basically for the person that's speaking or presenting. Of course, all of the attendees don't need to do all of that if if the camera's not on them. But whoever's speaking needs to remember those few tips. There are some great mics that you can get on Amazon for between $20 and $40 that you might want to try out. Later on, Calvin is going to give some audiovisual tips, and he might talk about mics and that as well. And we're going to give you a whole lot more information, or a way that you can get more information later on, outside of just the overview, the high overview that we're giving you right now. The other thing is you can go live on Facebook and YouTube if you want to share that Zoom meeting live at the same time. There are 3 buttons down at the bottom that say more, and it will allow you to go live on Facebook or YouTube or on your website. There's a code that you can give your web developer, and it can actually stream live on your website at the same time. So those are just a few tips on Zoom. As a high overview, we want to give you so much more because there's a lot more to know about Zoom and everything else that we're using on live streaming and virtual church services. But for today, I'm just going to give you those few tips. Last thing I want to say about Zoom is your audio settings. If you're singing, performing, having music, audio settings are important to know what needs to be clicked for it to sound right. It's a whole different platform if you're speaking than if you're singing. So the first thing you need to do in the audio settings is make sure that advanced settings for your microphone is checked on the first page. And then go to advanced settings, and you're going to click on the area that says show in meeting to enable original sound. Show in meeting to enable original sound. That's very important in the advanced settings. And the last thing I was going to say is you need to turn off the original sound when it shows on your picture where you're looking at the screen up in the top left-hand corner. It'll say turn off original sound. That needs to be blue. It's going to be, it starts out green, and then you want to make sure that it's blue. So you turn that off. And those three things alone will help your sound much better if you're doing singing on Zoom. And later on, we're going to even talk to you a little bit about how do those choirs do choir songs on Zoom? What is it that they do to make it sound so good? Are they all singing at the same time? Has somebody done a production and put it together? We've got some things that we're going to tell you about, that if you want to put a choir on Zoom, you can do that. But if individuals are singing, make sure that you get those audio settings set.
Let's check in now with Pastor Cornelius Clark. So many people are having to pivot, having to figure out how to make their services virtual. There's got to be some changes there, and he's got some good tips to help you do it. Pastor Clark?
And we are here. This is Pastor Cornelius Clark coming to you from Chicago, Illinois this afternoon. I am excited about your future and the things that God is getting ready to show you in this webinar. Thank you to Faye Hill and the whole team for what we're getting ready to present you. This is just going to be some snippets to get you going, to whet your appetite, to show you what you can do. Even in the midst of COVID, there are some things that can be done that will absolutely change the game for you. So it doesn't matter how it looks right now. It doesn't matter how large you are. It doesn't matter how small you are. Right now, the playing field has been leveled. Even here in Chicago, we're still capped by a number, somewhere between 50 and 100 people max in anybody's auditorium. So it doesn't matter if that's your max. You may even be able to have your whole church there, but there is another church that's living inside of you that you have not reached yet. So a couple of things that I want to just jump into today, maybe 5 things that I want to bring out. The number one thing is engagement. And what I want to talk about is, are you engaged and with the people who are coming to your church? Now, you may say, well, Pastor Clark, we're in COVID. Nobody's coming to the church. What do you mean who's coming to the church? Well, truly, you have people coming to your church if you make room for them. You have to engage them, and now you can do it through all of these different mediums, whether it be online, through Facebook, other social media platforms such as YouTube. There are all kinds of ways. There are some tools you can get so you can stream live straight from your sanctuary, whether you are having sanctuary from the living room of your home. It doesn't make a difference. There are some of my friends who have major ministries who are doing phenomenal things from their own living room. And you would be surprised, they have grown tremendously. We here at our church, we've had substantial growth during the pandemic. Is that not amazing? God can do things that we wouldn't otherwise be able to see. So engagement, make sure there are a couple of things that people feel welcome. We want to make sure that you mobilize your members. So you got to get them engaged in all of these social media things. And you may be like me, a little older. As you can see, I got this gray right here. So that means I'm not a spring chicken, but I have people around me. And if I can't do it, they have the capacity and the wherewithal to do the social media piece for me. So they can do things for me that I wouldn't necessarily know how to totally utilize by myself. So that is an amazing tool that you have available to you. And you have to advertise. What do you mean advertise? Well, you put out Sunday bulletin, you put out a billboard, the facing of your church. And somebody, I remember when we started, we were doing it where you were putting the signage up on your church sign outside, and you were advertising what was going to come on next week. Well, there are new ways to do that, and we want to talk about it. Very inexpensive. It's easy to do. So we're going to make sure that you're engaged in those three areas. And then you want to make sure, number two, you want to have retention. Retention means to keep what you got. The Bible talks about it this way. He says that there are some who are getting and gathering, but they have holes in their pockets, and everything that they're putting in is going right back out. And so what we want to make sure is the people that join you, the people who are connected to you, do not get left out. You want to build things that make sure that that hole is sewn up and that there is no more lack coming out of your situation. So you want to make sure that you stay in a place where whatever you gather, you now retain. There are a lot of people that I know that are some phenomenal gatherers, but they have trouble retaining people because you got to stay engaged. And now you got to overemphasize. Did I say it? You have to overemphasize. Let me say it one more time for the Holy Ghost. You have to overemphasize everything that you're doing currently. You have to make sure that it is overgiven, overspoken, overdone in this season, because people need to know that you care about them. They need to know that you are going to be there for them. And the way you do it is through your own members. And then you got to get volunteers engaged in the process. I don't care what it is. You may say, but I don't have the staff of a major ministry. You do. You just have to train them up and recruit for what you need. And so that's how you're going to keep your retention strong. Those are two areas that help your members and help retention. And then we're going to talk about something else that's going to bless your life. And this is going to be the game changer. Now, I grew up in an era and a time when we stayed in church all day. Sunday, because there was not very many options to go out and do anything else that was not sinful. We'd go to the movies, and in some cases there were certain churches that I was a part of that they didn't allow you to go to movies, and if you did, you couldn't go for anything other than PG-13 or rated G. They dared you to go to a rated R movie because now you done lost the Holy Ghost, and so you're no longer saved. But we realize we've grown beyond that, and now the world is given options. There are movies on demand. You don't even have to leave your house to go to the movies now. You can do Netflix and chill. You can do all of these kinds of things that are available to you right in your own home, right in your own context. Down the street from my house, there are restaurants. I could literally take my wife on a date and never have to get in my car. I can just walk down the street, go to a restaurant with white linen tables around the corner from my house. So I don't have to go out far to do anything. So there are always those competitors that are out there. And you got to realize that you are now in a competitive environment, that you with a smaller church are in the same competitive environment, and you can win as major churches or larger churches. You can win in this because you already know who you're talking to. You already have a target audience that you can reach. So there's three things that I want to give you in your service, in your structure, that's going to make you more attractive to those people who would be looking going from one level to another level, and the world is open. So we got to get out of the mindset, this is free for coming. You are no longer local. You have automatically become global because of the technology and the conditions that we're in. So here we are, even in Chicago. I'm in Chicago. You are where you are, but we're having a conversation that is not limited by our space and our radius. You still can hear me. I'm coming through pretty clear because I've been instructed. I'm going to speak up, say what I'm going to say, and then shut it down. So I'm really good at doing that now because I've learned that even with authority, I'm under authority still. So there are three things that I want you to do in terms of your service structure. In your service structure, no longer are people going to be engaged for all day church. What we have to do now, and we are not minimizing God. I believe I've seen God move in a short period of time. What we're going to do is we're going to get rid of those things that are not necessary in order to have God come in and sup with us. God didn't have to wait on us for a long time. He didn't have to move slow. Well, when he woke up when he was in the boat, he just simply said, peace. He didn't make a long drawn out prayer. He just said, peace, be still, and the waves subsided. And I'm speaking peace into your life today because there is something that we can do that changes the course of your ministry because things have changed and you can see more people in less time, and then you could probably even do some duplicate services if you would do it a different way. So one of the things is timeliness. Right now, everything is on a schedule. Touch your neighbor and say, we're on a schedule. And you must be timely whenever you're going to be on a schedule. So if you say you start at 12, I don't want to click in at 12 and you start at 12:01. I don't want to click in and you start at 11:59. You have to be timely in this season. There is a spirit of lack in timeliness, culturally speaking, in our community, and we have to break that spirit. I understand where it comes from. I could give you a whole dissertation on that, but that's not what we're doing right now because even now I'm on the clock. And so there is a level of timeliness that I need to make sure that I follow so that I stay according to the time that's set before me. So I'm double checking even now to make sure that my time has not run out because there are things that I can do. There are things that I need to do that help me and help you get to a place in God so that what we have to do is really timely. So we have to start on time. Whatever time you say you're going to start, you got to be on time. The length of service cannot now be more than at the maximum 90 minutes, at the maximum 90 minutes. That way you can do everything you need to do. You can have adequate praise and worship. You can have all of your announcements done. You can have your sermon, a full sermon. You can do your altar call and you can ask for your offering. You can do all of that in 90 minutes. You don't believe me? I'm going to show you how to structure that so that you can structure it so that the Holy Spirit has time to move. You have time to be engaged. You don't have to rush a sermon. You don't have to do any of those things. Just because you start on time, you end on time. Because on the web today, if you don't start and end when you say you are, they're going to click to the next person who does. And so you're in a competitive market. So you got to make sure that, and then you have to be consistent. If I can tell you nothing else, consistency is going to be your best friend in this environment. Consistency. Whatever you start, you have to continue. I'm part of a ministry. We have 4 a.m. prayer every second and fourth Tuesday morning at 4 a.m. And generally speaking, before COVID, the house would be packed with between 700 and 800 people at 4 o'clock in the morning. And we've been doing it successfully for almost 7+ years. Years. That brings consistency. And whenever you're consistent, people can count on it. The next thing, out of time it is, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to look at your worship. Your worship has to be prepared. Don't just guess what you're going to sing. You can structure it in such a way. Don't just guess what's going to happen next or who's going to pray. Those kinds of things has to be planned out. So if today's lesson is on the three Hebrew boys, then you understand what you're getting ready to do. You know you're going through a trial in the fiery furnace. You know all of the back end of that because you've been preaching and you know the text well. So you can exegete the text, but you can also tell the choir, hey, I need to hear some song that relates to what I'm talking about in my message. And that's where the worship is going to be for that day. So it has continuity. You're prepared. Then there is a flow of service. And I'm going to show you how to do what I call precision timing in your service. We'll cut out the time wasters. We'll cut out those things that don't need to be. We'll get people ready so that when they're coming up next, they're already moving before they get there. So when it's time for them to be there, they're there, not coming. They're already there. And if Mother Jones takes a little more time, that means we're going to get her up a little bit earlier so that she can get to the place that she needs to be so that she can do what she has to do. If Deacon Smith is getting ready to come up and have a powerful prayer, then he's going to come up and he's going to pray the house down. But we know he knows that he is on the clock. I'm going to help somebody today. So then in your sermon, you got to be a call to action, Pastor. You got to tell me what you told me, why you told me, and what do I need to do in response to it in this situation where I'm in COVID, where I'm in this environment. So that's worship, and we'll talk about that and break that down and make it amazing for you. The last one, and I'm out of here. I'm out of time, but I definitely am not out of word. But in your giving, and I know you want to talk about giving. So giving is ultimately important. And in this environment, you can have people give from around the world. If you position it right, they're not just going to view you when you're live. Somebody else, when you're live, at 11 o'clock on Sunday morning, somewhere else around the world, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. And they may be watching you then, or they may watch you at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And when you ask for offerings and when you ask for gifts to be sown into your ministry and seed to be sown, then you have to understand they may be giving by the time you go to sleep. So you don't want to cut that off because you're now not local, but global. So since we're moving out of the local space into a global space, we need to also make sure that that all flows with everything. There has to be a consistency. There has to be a flow, and there has to be a call to action. Hey, I'm Pastor Cornelius Clark here in Chicago, Illinois. I'm excited to talk to you today, but I'm going to be more excited to talk to you when we do our next session where I can dive deeper in and I can share some things with you that's going to transform your life and ministry. God has major things for you. I don't care whether you're large or small. I've been part of a church that was 6 members. I've been part of a church that had over 30,000. Either way, I saw God move. I saw God become effective, and I saw God in both areas. So don't be intimidated. Wherever God has planned you, that's where you are to produce. So the seed, God gives seed to the sower. So man, go do what you got to do, woman of God. You have been called for such a time as this. So I'm encouraged by you. I trust that God is going to do exceptional things in your life. And hey, look forward to talking to you real soon. God bless. Have a phenomenal year. We only got 3 more months. It's going to be amazing. All right. God bless.
name is Pastor A.C. Stapleton, the pastor of the Shekinah Tabernacle Baptist Church here in the city of Dallas, Texas, at 2109 South Beckley. I have come to tell you today about a young man I met by the name of Calvin Hill. Third Sunday in March, he showed up at the doorstep of our church. One of our members sent him over here to help us as we was going on Facebook Live. He came in, was a great asset. He set up our Zoom and all the accounts that we needed to help us get out on social media. So I would encourage you, if you needed some help. This is a nice Christian young man, one that loves the Lord, and one that will not rip you off. So I thank God that he showed up that third Sunday in March, that Sunday morning, that our member sent him over, said, go over and help my pastor. He's going to need your help. And the rest is history. And he's been going around helping other churches. And I'm sure if you give him a call, he'll be more than happy to show up and be a blessing to your church. So I thank God for this young man, and I pray God's speed upon him and his ministry. It's not a job, but it's a ministry. He goes around helping churches who maybe budget may not be that great, but he has the tools to show you how you can get the word out during this time in which we live. Matter of fact, we're preaching now to more people than we did than when we was in the church. So he's trying to help us to get quality service out when we do on Facebook, we do streaming, or whatever way we are going to do on social media. This is a good young man to help you with that project. May God bless you. May he keep you, is our prayer. So thank you much, Brother Calvin, for all your help.
Well, now it's time to talk about the audio and visual. Yes, that has to be right, Saints. Calvin Hill, please help us out.
Good afternoon. My name is Calvin Hill, and I'll be your audio tech for today. And I'm going to be assisting you with understanding audiovisual techniques and a little bit about how to better your church and your environment during this pandemic. Now, before the pandemic, I'm sure most of us weren't live streaming. We may have been using our phones, we may have been using our tablets, and we may have been just doing a little bit here and there to put a presence on Facebook or on our websites. Mostly just the mega churches were doing a lot of the live streaming. And now that the pandemic has happened and the churches had to close and reopen and close, and now people kind of fear for their health and their safety, that they're not coming back into the church. So streaming online is a must, is a have to. It's no longer an option for a lot of us. So understanding how to stream on Facebook, on YouTube, knowing what softwares to use, knowing what can fit your budget is optimal and is ideal for most of us. So whether you're live streaming or you're pre-recording, because pre-recording is an option, you don't have to just live stream. You can pre-record, gives you the ability to edit, gives you the ability to fix changes, and gives you the ability to just be a little bit more comfortable for those of us that aren't just quite ready for the live streaming aspect just yet. But understanding that your camera placement, your mic placement, that you're well lit, that you're not underexposed, that you're not overexposed. What that stuff means is overexposed means you have white spots behind you where it's kind of drowning you out and it is too bright. Think of it as staring into the sun for a long period of time and then looking away and you see a lot of white spots. That is what overexposure is. And underexposure meaning that you are too dark, that you are not lit enough, and that you can barely be seen. But we just want to make sure that you have lights in the proper places and that you can be seen. A simple lamp, a simple table light. Since we are in our homes, since we are in our houses, since we don't have to be in the sanctuary, we can be in our bedroom, our living room, Wherever you want to be, you can do just that. And whatever space you're in, we just want to make sure that you are optimizing that space for your service, for your worship, and for your worship experience. Because it doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter where your church is geographically located anymore. It doesn't matter that it's down the street. It doesn't matter that you're not right off the highway, not right off a major street. Everybody is visibly the same online, on Facebook and on YouTube. Now, your subscribers matter, your followers matter, but you have the potential to be visible in ways that you didn't have the potential to be visible before, because you are on the same platform as the mega churches that have been doing it for a while. The internet has given us the ability, the pandemic has given us the ability, social platforms has given us the ability to reach beyond our four walls, to reach people in India, in Australia, in China, in Japan, or right down the street from us. It doesn't matter where they are, because the internet is that platform for us. So we want to be ready. We want to make sure the content we're putting out is excellent. We want to make sure that we are representing ourselves and we're representing God in the best way that we can. So on average, just a quick tip, one last tip, on average, the human mind stays focused for about 12 seconds. So your live stream isn't just a camera set up and you can walk away, isn't just to prop up your phone and you can walk away, isn't just something that you can just set and leave. You want to make sure that you're keeping your live stream to be visually pleasing. You want to make sure that you're putting up scriptures, you're putting up song lyrics, that you're putting up slides, you're recording your intros, your welcomes. You can have like a foundation scripture. You can have a foundation video. You can have a church motto, things that you would normally say speaking wise in the church. It gives you the flexibility, and you want to have a little bit of creativeness and say it in a video, say it with some color, say it with some words, something that's going to keep people retained and keep people wanting to stay engaged to your live stream. You want to make sure that you are engaging them as much as possible and that you are keeping their mind set on you, because as churches used to be, that they were in the house, and whether or not they were really kind of not enjoying the service, they might say things like, well, I'm here now, might as well stay, don't feel like going anywhere else, and they would stay and enjoy your service. Now people can just leave. 1 minute they're there, 1 minute they're not. They can just click out of it and now they're in another search service, or they might have two up at one time, but whatever they're doing and all that they're doing, you want to make sure that they are engaged into your church service and staying glued in to your service, and that you are retaining visitors and you're keeping your members. So understanding all the audio and visual aspects of your service is going to be definitely beneficial for keeping them.
My name is Pastor Elton Dixon. I'm the senior pastor of the Faith Church, and I'm here to tell you about our very own Calvin Hill. Now, if you need any graphics or media services, it would be great. I'm telling you, it will behoove you to get him to help you set up or actually use media services. Our testimony is with the Faith Church. He came in and helped us with our media services that right now today we went from early in the year just having a tablet to right now putting on a full-on production, not only with the equipment. He allowed us or helped us to get the HDMI, the cameras, all the setup. We have YouTube now, of course, as well as Facebook. And every Sunday we have at a minimum of 500 to 600 views on a Sunday, because our media has risen when it comes to production skills. So if you need any skills, any production skills or any media help, please contact Calvin here. I'm telling you, he will always do more than what you think he would do. And so we are just grateful that he came in March, and he has risen our media ministry to a whole nother level. That's right. He came in March. In these few months, our media ministry has risen to a whole nother level. And so we're just thankful that he's here, and thankful for all the things that he's able to do. Lastly, he can't just do one thing, but he can do many things. Media, graphic, anything you have to do when it comes to media, he can do it.
Have you learned something pretty amazing thus far? I know I have. And get this is just the beginning. We're going to actually put together an intensive training session for November 11th. We'll tell you how you can be a part of it. We got that coming up for you in just minutes.
We are so excited about what we have for you. We have a complete, total online training for virtual church services. What is it going to include? We're going to talk about AV streaming, which includes website streaming, best presentation software, Facebook and YouTube Live, lighting techniques, troubleshooting techniques for audio, vMix, OBS training. Under retaining your members, we're going to talk about hosting events, high-level worship, visitor follow-up. Are you following up with your visitors? Engagement techniques and church assessment. Under generating giving, we're going to talk about tithes and offering and alternative funding. And then under social media, we're going to talk about Facebook content, graphics, flyers, YouTube videos, and all of that. Every bit of that is for an early bird special right now for the next 48 hours for $99. I'm not done. What is that going to include? You're going to also get a free church assessment. What's a church assessment? A church assessment is when we answer questions, you answer questions, and we go ahead and tell you what your church needs. So we look at how's your process, how's your social media, how's your audio visual, what equipment are you using? Are you generating the funds that you want to generate for the church? We look at everything that's going on in your church through a questionnaire, and then we assess the areas that you're falling short. That alone, the value is $149. You're going to get that free for the next 48 hours for signing up with the Early Bird Special. And then outside of that, we're going to give you a free ebook of Master the Art of Giving. Master the Art of Giving is a book that I wrote to assist churches in getting funds to raise projects or whatever it is that you need to raise money for without your members having to dig any deeper into their pockets. Really. They don't have to give up anything. They don't have to get extra money. They don't have to give their bill money. It's a whole process. And this is a guide that we're going to give you free. It's an ebook and you can take it and use it. Some mega churches, there's some testimonials from Friendship West in Dallas. They've used this program. Calvary Temple Community Church in Mesquite got into their next building with this program. So it's a great tool for you to use for anything that you're needing to raise money for in the church. Those are two things you're going to get with the Early Bird Special. And after that, the price is $159 for all of the training that we're going to give you. We have some excellent trainers, certified trainers. Cornelius Clark, Pastor Clark out of Chicago is dynamic. Calvin Hill, the Hearing Eyes audiovisual company that he has is doing great things for churches right now. You've seen some of those testimonials. And then I have been training churches since, I don't want to say how long, since 2002. Started out training in customer service and have done webinars and seminars all over the country for churches. So you've got you're in good hands. You've got some people that are going to help you out, and we can't wait to do that. So thank you so much for your time today. you can go to faye-hill.com and register for November 11th, and that's Church Netiquette 102. Much more information. We're going to really dive deep in and tell you everything you need to know where you can make sure that your church is at the next level in this new normal. It's not going back. We're not going back to business as usual. That is not going to happen. So the best thing you can do is not get left behind. Did anybody ever remember the book, Who Moved My Cheese? So there were some, I want to show you this real quick. There were some characters in that book. There was Sniff. Sniff looks ahead and anticipates change. The book is about change and how to deal with it, right? Scurry was a little mouse that scurries ahead and bumps into change. And then you've got Hem and Haw. To discuss, deliberate, or contemplate rather than taking action or making up one's mind. If you hem and haw long enough, someone else is going to do it first. Now, I'm going to let you think about that for a minute. You're going to get that on your way home. If you hem and haw long enough, this is not going back to business as usual. Churches are actually going to continue at a higher level and a higher level of providing what they need to provide to keep people engaged with them and not going to other churches. And we're going to help you get there. So faye-hill.com, November 11th. Go ahead and go online and register for that. And I promise you it'll be worth your time. Thank you so much for attending today. We have enjoyed having you here, and hopefully you've taken a few tips that you can take back to your church and take things where they need to be.
So we hope this has been a blessing for you. That's our whole goal, is to help as many as we can in ministry get to their next level. Please connect with us on social media, go to our website, and by all means, please join us on November 11th for the intensive. I'm Carmina Barnett, and thank you so much for letting me be your host. We look forward to seeing you again next month for more Church Netiquette.